Yeah. So, and I got into self-storage investing. I've been investing in real estate since 2010. All right. And so now 10 years, a little bit over 10 years now. And I got into real estate investing because my husband had started a home inspection company. And so he was all going, and he was like, in 2010 is like the best time to be in real estate, honestly. At least that's, I mean, I've only been doing it since 10 years, so I have no idea if there's any other good times. But for me, it was like a really good time. That was the good old days. My husband was doing home inspections, and basically he would come home and be like, um, there's so many good deals out there, so many crappy houses out there. We should figure out how we can buy some of these houses. That's basically what happened, is that he was the home inspector inspecting all these houses, and there were so many good deals. It's kind of like a realtor. As a realtor, you see all these deals and you're like, I don't want to pass up any more of these deals. I want to learn how to do all this investing. It's the same kind of thing with the inspections. That's how my husband was too. So that's kind of how we got into it. And so I started out wholesaling and rehabbing, and really mostly rehabbing. I was one of these crazy people that did like 10 to 15 rehabs at a time. And for 5 years straight, I was like just churning and burning. And I would just be like, go, go, go. Ended up having like, two, GCs, two GCs that we worked with. And then like we had a project manager managing all of our rehabs at the same time, just running around like crazy people. And then what happened was I got pregnant, right? And so that was in 2015. I got pregnant. And when I got pregnant, I was doing 15 rehabs at the same time. 15 rehabs. And we had 15 rehabs in the pipeline. Can you imagine? That's how crazy it was. And I was like, and my husband had the home inspection company. He kind of did his own thing, and the home inspection company was doing very well, right? Because it was just because he had been doing that for a while as too. And then I was doing the rehabs, and I was just running around like this crazy person. And so what happened was, like, all of a sudden I got pregnant, and then I started freaking out, like as a mother to be. And like, I was like, okay, how am I going to handle all these 15 rehabs? I didn't have Pete to help me with these rehabs, right? How am I going to handle these rehabs and this baby, and like be an awesome mother? And I really wanted to just stay home and be with her. Really, that's it. And I just started freaking out, and so I just, basically I told my husband, I was like, I'm not buying any more houses. That's it. Like, we are done with rehabs, and it was also like super stressful. It's just like, it's not fun to do a lot of rehabs, honestly. Like what Jay and Annie are doing, where they're like, we just did 8 rehabs in the year. That is like the perfect thing. Like when you do one rehab or 1 or 2 rehabs at the same time, it's going to be like easy peasy lemon squeezy. But when you're doing like 10 or 15 rehabs at the same time, it's not fun. It's not fun. All right. You're running a business, right? You get into being an investor. When you say, I'm going to be a real estate investor, right? I mean, there's a difference between, I tell this to my students all the time. There's a difference between investing and buying a business or running a business, right? And I guess, we have businesses. I get that. But, do you want to have like this huge, big, major business? And that's what happened to my husband's business as well, too. He was a home inspector, and he ended up having like 3, inspectors underneath him. And he was just running around like a crazy person. So while he was running around like a crazy person running his business, I was doing the same thing with our business. And then so once I got pregnant, it was kind of like, it was just a stopping point for us. In fact, my husband, he ended up selling his home inspection company, because what he wants to do is be a dad. That's really what he wants to do. And actually, he's an awesome dad. He's the best dad ever. And when I got pregnant, I was like, I want to be a mom, but I still wanted to work a little bit. That's the kind of person I am. And so, so what we did is, like, basically he sold his business. And it took a little while for us to do that, but he sold his business, and then I stopped buying property. Okay. And well, so what happened though, I'm 100% privately funded, and I'll get into that in just a second. Okay. Why I'm 100% privately funded. I learned to raise millions and millions of dollars, and every single property that I owned was privately funded. And so, now I had like, and the thing is like, people say, oh, you got to raise private money. Totally get that. You want to raise private money. But at the same time, like, what happens with private money is that like if you don't use their money, they start getting upset. So I'd be like closing on a deal and they'd be like, all right, when are you going to roll the money over to the next thing, And I'd be like, I got to go buy me another house or whatever. And so that's basically what was happening. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to buy houses anymore because I can't do the active income versus the passive income, right? I can't do it anymore, right? And I'm a flip chart person, right? So once you start coming to my classes, you'll see. But in your real estate and business, you're focusing on active and passive income, either one or the other or both, right? And your goal is really both, right? You want to be focusing on active income and passive income at the same time, right? And I'll get into that in just a minute. So for instance, like REI USA is really active income, but it's passive income, right? Because it's a membership, right? So I'm getting this every single month. Hopefully y'all stay. And then like buy and holds or passive income, right? But you can, for instance, wholesale, right? Wholesaling would be active. Rehabbing is active. I think like vacation rentals, those are, my personal opinion, those are considered active income. Oops, not active. Vacation rentals, like Airbnb or whatever. All right, and then you have like, you have your rentals, and you have multifamily, and you have storage, right? So that's why I'm getting into active and passive income. Up until I got pregnant, there's no passive income in my life. In fact, I was like, let me just close this deal and move on to the next one, right? That's kind of how my whole life was. And then I got pregnant, and then I was just like, shit, now I have no passive income. That's, as a mom, I was like, well, I can't quit working because then I don't have any income coming in. And even my husband's home inspection company was active income, right? Because it's just like you do an inspection, you pay, and then you move on to the next one, right? Like no passive income. We hadn't focused on passive income at all. And so all of a sudden I told my realtor, and I have a realtor that I've been working with for 10 years, and he's Richard. And I told Richard, I was like, that's it. I'm not buying any more houses. And he had, this is back in the day when I was doing rehabs, essentially you could go on the MLS, you could buy houses, right? Now it's like really hard to do that. But, so he would just like wake up every day and just look for houses for me and then just send me houses. And I was just doing offers, like blind offers. And, so then I told him, I was like, I only want passive income. That's it. Only passive income. Find something for me. And I said, especially find something for me that I can buy, that I can roll all my money into once I close all these deals. That was my biggest thing, because I had raised all this millions and millions of dollars, and I didn't want to lose all that, So like, essentially I told Richards, like, get out there and start looking for something for us, because like, I'm going to have to roll all these houses that I'm finishing into something else. Right. And I was doing rehabs. I was doing like rehabs that weren't super expensive, like I was doing affordable housing rehabs. I was doing like, you buy them for 50,000, you put 50,000 into them, and you sell them for 150 grand. And I just did that over and over and over again. All right. And so like, even my lenders, they're only giving me 100, 150, $200,000. Right. So I was like, well, what can I do with 200 grand? And so that's when my realtor started getting out there and looking for properties. And we went, like, this was back in 2015, 2016, when we were looking at multifamily, and multifamily was like, nobody was even talking about multifamily. Right. And it was just like the newest thing, but like every multifamily that I looked at, like, always needed huge, big rehabs. And I just was like, so done with the rehab. I didn't want to do it anymore. And then we looked at like buying a portfolio of houses. Like, I was going to just combine all the money that I had from my lenders and be like, all right, guys, we're going to just pool this together, create a company, and we're going to go buy this huge, big portfolio. But I really, honestly, at that time, I was just like so tired of houses. I was just like so tired of them. I just couldn't even do it anymore. Luckily, my realtor found the very first storage facility that I bought. All right. And it was actually only 20 minutes from my house, which was perfect. And so I drove over. So now we're starting to look at how I started to build my passive income portfolio, which is storage facilities. In fact, we just put under contract today our 10th storage facility, number 10, right? So super excited about that. Okay, so I drove over to this storage facility. You know, I have no idea about storage facilities. My realtor, at this point, I had no idea. My realtor was like, hey, there's a storage facility. You ever considered storage? And I was like, no, but I'll go over there and take a look at it. It's only 20 minutes away. It's perfect. So I used to live in a town called Peachtree City, Georgia, if anybody's heard of it. And right, so here's Atlanta, right? Atlanta. Okay. Here's Fayette. Here's like Peachtree City down here. Peachtree City. Okay. All right. And then the property that I bought was in Fayetteville, which is like right here. Notice that what I'm doing is I'm showing you that this is what we call your primary market, right? The Atlanta area right here. This is called primary, right? And then Fayetteville, Peachtree City are considered secondary markets, right? And then over here, this is called tertiary markets. It's like a country. It's the middle of nowhere. It's like outside the secondary, right? Outside of the secondary markets. Okay, that's called tertiary markets. This is very, very important in commercial real estate. All right, so now we're talking about commercial real estate right now, not residential real estate. Two totally different paths, totally different ways of looking at property, totally different journeys. All right, so just want to keep that in mind. Commercial real estate is income based. That's what I love commercial real estate because it's income based, which means I'm actually we're running 10 different businesses. And a lot of people don't think about that when you think, oh, I'm going to just buy a storage facility and invest in self-storage, right? So it's self-storage investing. But the truth of the matter is that there's a 3-step process in investing in self-storage. All right. You have to find them. You have to fund them. And you have to run them. All right. Find them, fund them, and run them. Okay. Sounds so easy, right? And get out there and find me one, fund it, and then just run it, right? The truth of the matter is that running them is the hardest part of the whole business. Why? Because in commercial real estate, running them, when you run them and you're running a business, you have to learn how to run a true, like a retail business, right? I mean, even though we have tenants, essentially these tenants, I mean, you have to find those tenants by learning how to market to find the tenants. Right? You have to learn how to market to find tenants. You have to learn how to run your business like a business. And the truth of the matter is in the first 5 years of all small businesses, 85% of them all fail, right? And you don't want your business to become the business that the storage facility that I buy, right? So I buy mismanaged facilities. Right? So there's 6 ways for you to invest in self-storage, right? And the first one is mismanaged facilities, which is like my favorite kind, right? Because, I'm a rehabber at heart. So I drove up to this facility, right, in Fayetteville. And, and this is how it looks. Like, this is the gate, right? Here's the gate right here. Here's the road. And this is the facility, okay? And it's got 64 10 by 10 units, okay? And then it's got parking. Right here, when I pull up, there's a pile full of tires. probably hundreds of tires. All right. And when I go in to look, you can't see, it's like, there's a gate, it's gated, it's all fenced and stuff. But when I look in, it's just like the dumpiest, ugliest storage facility you can imagine. Right. So for me as a rehabber, when I pull up to this thing, like actually my heart starts to beat, I'm like, yeah, oh my God, I love this place. It's awesome. And I just wanted to give it like a big hug. Right. And say, I'll fix you. Don't worry. That's what I'm here. Mama's here. Right. And so I pulled up and I saw like tires, the parking, you could tell the owner was just like, go find a spot, kind of like that. That's how it was, right? And then it's just like the dumpiest, ugliest storage facility you can imagine, okay? So for me, that is a mismanaged facility. But actually, the truth is, a mismanaged facility is when it's not 80% or full or 92%. Like in the commercial real estate world, 92% or full is like the cherry on top. Okay, like how to run your business when you are, when that thing is full, right? So your job as a self-storage owner is to learn. Finding and funding them is the easy part. Running them is the hard part. And that's why there's so many self-storage owners out there that are just like dumping them off because they haven't understood and learned how to actually run their business properly. And like I said, you don't want to become the storage facility that I'm going to buy in the next 5 years, right? So running them is actually the hardest part of the entire thing. So if you don't want a business that you want to run, then you should really be not focusing on self-storage, right? Because then you could just get into something like rehabbing where you could just dump it off in a year, you'll be done with that thing or less, you know what I'm saying? So I wanted to get into finding, funding, and running them and just give you an overview of the process. And while we're doing that, I'm going to go through all the ways that you can invest in self-storage. That's going to be the goal for today. And we got 30 minutes to do that. You ready, Freddie? Okay. All right. So mismanaged facilities is number one. When I talked to the owner, the name of the facility was Big John's Storage. When I talked to Big John, he was 88 years old or 87 or 87, whatever. He was old, right? 88 years old. And he wanted to move to Florida. Actually, he didn't want to move to Florida. His wife wanted to move to Florida. And that's what he said when I talked to him. I said, I want to go and meet Big John because the best way to find deals is when you talk to them face to face. The best way to find any deal is talking to the owner face to face, right? So I get it, like we're in a virtual world and all this stuff and you can just send out letters, but I'm going to tell you, driving for dollars and driving for storage, which is how I find my deals, is the best way to go about doing it, okay? Now, mismanaged facilities. So I talked to Big John and I was like, Big John, tell me about this thing. And I said, is it full? Like, how much money are you making? What's going on? And he said, oh, yeah, it's full. It's full. And I said, okay, well, how much money are you making? And he said, yeah, I'm making like $2,000 a month, $2,200. I'm making like at least $2,200, $2,300 a month. And always, if it's a mismanaged facility, whatever they tell you, just divide that in half because that's really the truth, right? They're always lying to you about how much they make. And why are they lying to you about how much they make? Because with a mismanaged facility, it's a mismanaged facility when they cannot provide you any numbers at all. When they're like, oh, we're making $2,300 a month. They say, okay, great. Can I see your P&L on your balance sheet? And oh yeah, no, we don't have that at all, right? And in fact, every facility that I've bought, every facility except for this one that I'm buying, number 10, have all been mismanaged facilities and there's no numbers offered at all for any deal. And in fact, John, when I talked to him, he said, oh yeah, I've got my numbers. And he opened up the drawer and he pulled out a ledger. And it was like an old ledger. And that's how he kept track of his numbers. And 80% of anything that he made was all cash, right? And guess what happens with cash when you get cash, right? It doesn't go into the account. It doesn't go into the ledger. And so he could not prove at all any money that he made at all. And in fact, he didn't know who paid, who didn't pay, or anything like that. If they paid, great. And if they didn't, they didn't, right? It's basically how he ran his business. And actually, the truth is every business I bought is pretty much like that. Mm-hmm. Okay, but that's only one way. That's one way. And that's when you know it's a mismanaged facility is if they will not provide you any details about the property or very limited details, right? You ask for the P&L, the balance sheet, the tax returns, all the information. They just say, no, I'm not going to give that to you, because like I had one guy that I was buying 3 facilities from, and he was like, I'm not giving you any of that information because it's all like in one big company. He had like, 10 different companies and it was all under his own name. Everything was under his own name, everything. You don't want to run your company like that, okay? So mismanaged facilities is one of the best ways to make money in the storage investing world because you can double your income. You can double the value of the property. So we ended up buying this property for 250 grand. And right now it's 100% full, completely beautiful, completely organized, all tires gone. We found like thousands and thousands of tires on this property. Organized, filled up, all the crap is out, everything is all tented, looking great. We're about to pave. We're going to pave this side and we're going to go through and pave this side because we want this thing to look like $1 million, right? Because it's valued at the income that it's making right now. It's valued at like 800 grand. And so we have to make sure it looks like 800 grand so we can sell it. That's in the process that we're doing right now. So we've had this thing for 5 years. It's valued right now, let's say between 750 and 800 grand. And we're making it look like it's that so we can sell it and make 500 grand on this deal, plus all the money that we make every single month on it, right? And we borrowed this money, right? Remember, I said we have privately funded. So I finished a house and rolled this money over, the 250 over from one house to the storage facility. All I had to do is convince my lender that, instead of doing a 1-year loan to do like a 3 or 4 or 5 year loan. And actually most lenders, they don't even care. They don't care what the length is. Like, on people in their mind are like, oh, 5 years. And it's like, nobody cares. Most lenders do not care about the length of your loan, especially if they're a private lender. So all I did was ask him, like, look, would you be okay with us just like paying you monthly for this thing instead of like after 1 year? And like, you just, you get the interest only loan for a year until we can, for the next couple of years until we can refinance this out. He was like, yeah, I don't care. Because he just gets that money every single year, So that's kind of what we did with that facility. And I saw one question, how did you get to 250? Yeah, so then that is deal analysis. We're not going to get into deal analysis because you have to learn how to run commercial deal analysis. And it is not easy. All right, so you have to learn cap rate, ROI, cash on cash return, yield, all the different factors to run deal analysis, right? Now that this is the very first deal that I did, so I kind of just ran the numbers and said, okay, like I should probably make this, I could probably make this, this is what it's valued at, right? But the truth of the matter is if you really want to learn how to invest in self-storage, you got to learn how to run commercial deal analysis. And I'm teaching this. We have Joe James is teaching this. Also, Yukiko is going to be teaching this. So be on the lookout for all these teachers and webinars that are coming up because we all teach how to run commercial deal analysis. Joe James is teaching multifamily. I'm teaching self-storage, and Yukiko is teaching as multifamily as well too. So you got plenty of options for you to learn commercial deal analysis, but that is not something that we can go over in 30 minutes. It's like, this takes time for you to understand that, okay? All right, the second way to make money in self-storage investing is income producing properties. Income producing. Income producing properties is when they're cash flowing. How do you know when a property is cash flowing? I'm going to tell you, if you find somebody that is like, has a commercial property, any commercial property, and you're like, I'd like to buy your property, how much is it worth? And they say, oh, it's worth $1 million. You say, awesome. Can you prove that? All right. And if they go, yeah, hell yeah, I can prove that. All right. Here's my P&L. Here's my balance sheet. Here's my tax returns. Here's the survey. Here's this, here's that, here's this, here's that. Right. And then if they start giving you all the stuff that you need, then it's probably worth what they're telling you. most of the time, right? If they can prove like, the number, right, based off of the income, which you have to run cap rate and learn how to do that. But in income producing properties are like 75% or higher at full max, full capacity, right? 75% or higher. And then the owner is just basically like, yes, here's my P&L, here's my balance sheet, here's my rent roll, here's my taxes, right? That is an income producing property. Okay. Now there's a gray area, and the gray area is like 50 to 75% full. Okay. And so if it's 50 to 75% full, is it mismanaged, or is it like considered managed properly, right? Or managed, at least almost managed, right? If it's 50% to 75% full, that depends on whether or not they will produce any numbers for you. It can be 50% full or 75% full, and they say, yes, I've got my P&L and balance sheet, or they could say, yeah, it's 75% full and I'm not giving you anything at all. Right? Which happens all the time, right? So then you would say, okay, because the thing is that a bank is not going to fund your deal unless you can prove, right, what the income is. Okay. And like I said, commercial real estate is all based on income. So if it's 75% full and they don't want to give you any documents at all, there's no bank that's going to lend on this. All right. And so you have to go to a private lender or hard money lender or partner or however you want to do it to get the money. And that is going to make, the interest rate higher, or you're going to have to split the equity or something like this. You have to run the numbers based on that deal. And every single one of the scenarios that I go through, and they all are different. There's all different ways of funding them, right? So there's no one way. It's not like residential, go to a hard money lender and that's it, right? So every single type of thing that we go over. So mismanaged, you would go to a private money lender, or you would partner, right, with somebody like this, right? Because you can't go to a bank and get the loan for that, right? Whereas an income producing property, then you would want to go to like a local bank, especially local banks. They love storage facilities, right? You don't want to do nationwide banks for this, but like local regional banks are perfect for storage facilities, or SBA. SBA loves storage facilities. Why? Why does SBA love storage facilities? Because it is considered recession resistant. In an upturn, storage makes money, and in a downturn, storage makes money, right? Even in COVID, all the storage facilities were fine. There was like, a month or two where it was like a little crazy. Now everybody's like contactless. If you go and search for a storage facility, it's all like contactless. That literally contactless, that came just in the last like 6 months or so from COVID. Now we have been contactless since day one, right? Because we are completely electronic and completely virtual. But a lot of the facilities, you had to go down there, sign a contract, right? And, get your story, go look at your unit and stuff like this. Now, like, we never did any of that. In fact, we have not met any of our tenants in years. And in fact, we don't even go to our storage facilities very often, right? We have like one person that manages all of our storage facilities in the office, and then one person that's a boots on the ground person that manages all of them. And that's it. Okay. That's it. We have about 1,000 doors. Okay. What else? Okay. So income producing properties, if they can provide the P&L and the balance sheet, they can go to a loan. They can get a loan from a bank, local bank, or SBA. If they they can't provide you any numbers or don't want to provide those numbers, then you have to be creative, right? You have to be creative in funding your deal. So partnering, equity splits, hard money lenders, private lenders, owner financing, all these different types of deal structures. Okay, so that's on that side. All right, so that's income producing versus mismanaged. All right. And then you have new construction. Anybody here is like, I got the perfect piece of property that I could build a storage facility on. right? I hear this all the time. I got the perfect piece of property for a storage facility, right? So now you are the now you have to figure out if you want to do new construction. I'm gonna tell you right now, there are not enough storage facilities out there. That's one of the questions. Is it oversaturated? Well, yeah, if you go to Austin, Texas, there's like way too many storage facilities in Austin, Texas. If you go to like Miami, right? If you go to maybe New York City or like all these big major areas, right? Primary markets, there might be some oversaturation, but there's definitely some opportunity in private primary market as well too, right? That's where all the hedge funds are. That's where all like public storage and Cube Smarts and all this kind of stuff are. They're buying in primary markets and maybe secondary markets, right? So there's definitely opportunity, but you got to have some money, right? In order to, to get into those. So like us little people, we focus on secondary and tertiary markets, right? So you can be in like secondary if you can afford it, and certain like the secondary market of Nashville or Atlanta or Orlando is going to be more expensive than the secondary market of like, Savannah, Georgia or something like this, So secondary markets are not all the same. It depends on which city that you look at. So what I'm saying is that you have to really understand your market, your location, where you want to focus, where you want to be. Does it have to be near you? No. In fact, all of our storage facilities are 4 to 6 hours away. They're all in Georgia, but we drive all the way south. My husband Pete just drove down to one. It took 4 hours for him to drive down, do a couple things, and drive back. And every once in a while we have to do that. And so, so you have to, but like, that's not a big deal. I mean, he does that like once every 6 months. That's why we travel so much too, right? We're just like, okay, we'll just go travel and go live other places and just be next to our storage facilities and stuff. We do a lot of stuff in Florida. Okay. Okay. So that is primary, secondary, tertiary markets, right? And the cap rates for each of these markets are completely different too, right? So depending on where you're at, maybe like 4 to 7% for the cap rate. A secondary market is maybe like 7 to 9%, and then tertiary would be like 10 plus, right? So the question is like, what kind of cap rate do you want? And some people say this is riskier than this. I say putting millions of dollars into here is riskier than putting a couple $100,000 here, but everybody's risk level is completely different, All right, let's see what else. Mismanaged, incubation, new construction. Yes. So the question is should I build? My answer is if you are in a secondary or tertiary market and you can afford it and afford all the money up front that it's going to take to do all the zoning and to get the land and clear it and build and borrow money and all this kind of stuff, right? Just go to a local bank and borrow money if you can put 20% down. Right? And then build a storage facility, right? Totally doable and needed. Because guess what? We are in all secondary and tertiary markets. We're 100% full on every single one of our storage facilities, even in our tertiary markets, one that are in like very small towns. Okay. We're 100% full. There is not enough storage right now, especially in tertiary markets, especially. All right, so if you can borrow a couple $100,000 to build something, I say go for it. Just as long as you get a feasibility study to make sure it's going to be okay and stuff. They'll tell you in the feasibility study if it's okay. Okay, but new construction definitely is a plus. Check plus. Okay. Now, anybody here know how to raise money? If you know how to raise money, if you're a money magnet and you know how to raise money, private money or like funds or syndicating, then you should really look into development and conversions. This is where we're at. All right. So we started out with mismanaged, moved on to income, doing some new construction now, moving on to developing and converting. All right. That's kind of the chain, how it goes a lot. Unless you already know how to have money, right? To raise money, they could be like, screw all this. I'm going to raise $8 million. I have somebody right now that's raising $8 million and for a facility. And after like 3 years, it's going to be worth $16 million. All right. So you can really make a lot of money if you know how to raise the money. And actually the truth is raising the money is once you educate yourself on how to raise money, it's not that difficult. It's really not that difficult. I have so many people wanting to give me money, right? But you just have to figure out how to do it, to educate yourself on raising money, right? Okay. When my coach told me 10 years ago, and I said this earlier, he said, if you want to learn how to make it in real estate investing, learn how to raise money. All right. So that should be everybody's goal. All right. Okay. Develop and conversions. That's like, when you see these retail centers, like I have a student like looking at a store, like a storage facility. The owner bought an old Blockbuster, is what he did, and then he converted it into storage, and he's had it for like 10 years, and now he wants to sell, and now one of my students is buying that. All right, so that is like it is, or like these Dollar Trees, or whatever they're called, not Dollar Trees, CVS's and Walgreens, and these, like, you see these like retail centers and stuff, you'll see a lot more conversions going on. Old warehouses, like in the middle of the cities, these old kind of warehouses being converted into like lofts. A lot of them are being converted into storage as well too. Like I have a friend right now that's converting one in like Louisville, Kentucky, that is it's going to be like storage, and like on one side, and the other side is going to be like flex space, like office space and stuff like this. They're going to be doing. So total, if you know how to raise money, or if you're interested, or even if you know how to partner with people that have money, syndicating or doing funds or anything like that, that's the way to go right now. Okay. And let's see what else. Oh, finally. Oh yeah, another one, wholesaling. Man, I'm buying the storage facility that I'm buying right now. I've just put it under contract. It's from a wholesaler. All right. So there's not enough wholesalers in the commercial industry. Okay. In the commercial real estate industry, there's not enough wholesalers, right? Way too many wholesalers on the residential side, not enough wholesalers on the commercial side. All right. And the reason why is because, it took a couple of years for the commercial industry to, come out of its shell. And so like just in the last 5 years, commercials become more and more popular. There's too many wholesalers on the multifamily side, right? So don't do more. I'm talking about commercial. There's a difference between commercial and multifamily, all right? And even running numbers and everything like this, like storage facilities, when you run numbers for storage, you have to think of us as warehouses, right? We have to run numbers based on square footage, right? Not doors. When you hear a storage facility owner saying, yeah, I got like I just said, I got 1,000 doors. And the reason why people say this is because they don't understand it's total square footage. Now I'm saying 1,000 doors to you, so you guys get an idea of kind of what I have. But the truth is that I'm going to tell you like, 100,000 square feet or something like that is like what the owners are going to tell you. Okay. All right. Wholesaling. Learn how to wholesale. That's why I said this yesterday when Mike was teaching. Wholesaling is the foundation of any real estate investor business. If you can wholesale, then you can make money on any property, because if you don't want it, you can just wholesale it. All right. So learn how to wholesale, learn the foundation of what wholesaling is. And you can do that by attending Mike's session or doing his online course, which is free for all members. Right. And then once you learn that, you can choose, do I want to do residential wholesale or commercial wholesale? Now, commercial wholesale is different from residential, right? Because you have to be able to put like, a PPM together and stuff like this on the commercial side, which is not different. You just have to learn how to do it. There's not enough wholesalers on the commercial side and way too many wholesalers on the residential side. My personal opinion. You guys can yell at me if y'all want to, but that's my personal opinion. Learn how to wholesale. I put a storage facility under contract for $150,000, $165,000, and then I wholesaled it for $225,000 just a little while ago. All right, so I made like 50 grand, 60 grand, something like that on it. All right, and that's the thing with commercial that I love. Commercial wholesaling is that you make way more money on wholesaling on the commercial side than you do on the residential side. Okay. And, but you just have to learn how to do that. I have a student right now that's buying a $1.65 million facility, right? He has no money. at all. He's partnering with somebody to bring the down payment, and then and he's going to be the boots on the ground person. It's a $1.65 million facility, and 150,000 of that is going to the wholesaler. So the real price is $1.5 million. And so he's getting an SBA loan for $1.5 million with 20% down. He's borrowing that money 20%. He does not have that money, so it's a 25-75 split. So the first deal he ever does, he'll get 25%, and that wholesaler is going to make 150 grand, which the private lender is paying for. So the private lender is actually bringing 450 grand to the table, $150,000 to the wholesaler, and $300,000 to the 20% down. Okay. And I'll write that down. Okay. It's a $1.65 million facility. It's 283 units. And he's getting an SBA loan, Small Business Association, or what does SBA stand for? It's an SBA, so Small Business Association. It's a government-backed loan, essentially, and they just love storage facilities. You have to have 20% down, right? So the wholesaler is going to get, so the purchase price is $1.5 million, not $1.5 million. The wholesaler is going to get 150K, so that's 1.65 million. Okay. 20% of that is $450,000, right? This is coming from a private money lender. My student is going to do a 25-75 split. The private lender gets 75%, and then my student's getting 25%. Okay. This property, so it's a 25-75 split. Okay. And the wholesaler's making 150 grand. This person's bringing 450. They're getting a loan from SBA for the rest. And the property is actually only 50% full. It's a mismanaged property. The owner does not own a computer. Does not own a computer. All right, that's a mismanaged property. Okay. And it's actually, once it gets to be 92% full, it's going to be worth $3.5 million. Okay. So my student who's putting nothing into the deal, all right, is going to get 25% of the difference of this and 25% of the profit every single month. Okay. And he put nothing into the deal. So these types of deals are totally doable. And this is a scenario that you can do on the residential side or the commercial side. All right, this is any type of scenario. You could do this for a mobile home park, RV park. You could do this for residential houses. You could do it for multifamily. This is a typical just structure of a deal. Okay. Pretty cool, huh? Pretty cool. So now the final section is the last way you can make money in self-storage, right? And this is your ultimate goal. This is your goal as an investor. Everybody's goal should be this. Okay? When you can do this, you know you're starting to play with the big wigs. All right? Lending. Because guess what? This person here that I just went over, he's going to loan 450 grand, but he ain't doing nothing for that money except for loaning that money, because my student's the boots on the ground managing that thing. And he's going to split $1 million and get 75% of that and 75% of the profit. That is how you can make some money in real estate investing. All right. So these are the 6 ways you can invest in self-storage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, good. I got them all. All right, 6 ways you can invest. Out of all of these ways, which ones do you want to do? Of any of them are you interested in? Put it into the chat so I can see. Does any of this intrigue you? Now, remember that when I do all this right here, guess what? This is commercial real estate investing. This is not just storage facilities. You can do income producing properties. You can do mismanaged properties. You can do new construction. You can do development. You can do wholesaling. You can do this in residential. All right. You can do this in any way. This is real estate investing. It's a basic real estate investing 101. Okay. And then now you know the 3-step process. This 3-step process. Finding them, funding them, running them. Right, on the commercial side. This is commercial real estate investing, right? Find them, fund them, run them. And then I guess if it was like, rentals, it'd be like find them, fund them, manage them, right? If it was like rehab, it could be like find them, fund them, sell them. So now it's a 3-step process. Figure out which way you want to do it, and then focus on the 3 steps and then master each of those steps. Okay, that's how it works. That's basic real estate investing 101. All right, that's it. That's all I got. I meet every Tuesday at 5 o'clock. So come hang out with me. I do beginner real estate investing, which is just like me kind of answering your questions, helping you get started. I do a new member orientation, right? So make sure you come to the new member orientation so we can like get you all going and to where you need to be going. Look, I got everybody's doing wholesaling, income producing. Awesome. Everybody's going to be getting this. And it doesn't matter what type of investing it is. You could be like, I'm doing mismanaged. Mismanaged in the rehabbing world, guess what? It's like buy, fix, and flip, right? Income producing, guess what? That's rental properties. That's multifamily. That's storage facilities. That's office space or whatever. What else? Oh yeah, I do virtual speed networking once a month. So this is where people get to meet each other and talk to each other, introduce yourselves. It's not just about us, it's about the entire community. So please come to the virtual speed networking, just hang out with me. And then I'm going to make y'all just talk to each other and like introduce each other, because you never know who you're going to meet and maybe somebody you can do a deal together with. Okay. So I don't want you to feel like it's just teacher, member. I want it to be community as well too. Okay. And then also I do self-storage 101 once a month as well too. So I do every Tuesday at 5 o'clock, I do a webinar, something for you guys. I'm here to help you, guide you, point you in the right direction. REI USA is my life, right? This is what I do now. All right. We buy storage facilities. My husband does all that though. And then we do REI USA. Okay. Is what we do. All right, let me see. I know we're supposed to go on to the next one. Let me just make sure I didn't miss it. And if you have any questions, just always post them in the private Facebook group and then just tag us. If we miss any questions or you think later, like, crap, I wanted to answer that. I wanted to get a question on that, okay? But I see a lot of like good questions here.